Yeah, well, this is the run we did at Colden. We ran 775, which is our PB. So up the top here, RPM trace, shift, and then finish lines there. So the black line, it's pulling like 2 Gs of acceleration off it. There you go, 2 Gs, whereas at Swan Hill we're only pulling like 1.6. Difference was at Calder Park, we're at 22.5 pounds of boost. Swan Hill we're only at 14 at the same point down the track.
Yeah. So that those two lines there are the different profiles of boost. The easiest thing to tune for a launch is your RPM that you take off at, and then how quickly you ramp your boost in. So what we had to do for the tracks that aren't prepared well is we have to be, one, careful of how hard we hit the tyres, and then two, we always seem to run the same amount of boost top end, but what we've got to do and work out really quickly is how quickly down the strip can we ramp in that maximum boost. So when people are asking us how much boost, we're always running the same boost, but it depends on when. So that's the trick with what we're doing at the track.
So if you go back to our old files where we get out, we only might only get 10 metres out, turn the tyres and go, well, the track can't hold it there, so we pull a bit out of that bit there and then keep going. And whereas if you get perfect traction everywhere, you just keep bringing it all in a bit faster. Like the last day, we kept pouring more in.
We were messing around with how much boost we had every 10 kilometres an hour, basically on drag challenge. That's like you have to sort of get in pretty finite, otherwise you sort of miss parts. So if you always seem to be blowing the tyres at exactly the same point in the track, that's what you got to work on. But we also found, like coming into that part of the track, you had to be how hard you were going into that part of the track as well, and it seemed to be pretty repeatable at most of the tracks, which means if it's repeatable and this ECU is nice and repeatable in what you ask it to do, then it's really easy to work out and get a good tune. So that's why generally about 2, maybe 3 runs we'll have a pretty good handle on the track.
Usually.
Hi, I'm Quentin Feast. This is my 1974 model LH Holden Torana that we've competed in 3 drag challenges with. And this year we won again. So it's been a long time coming with the car. We've had it now for a lot of years. Only really got into the racing scene heavily in the last couple of years. Went to the first drag challenge for fun, came out on top. Then we went back the second year. Competition was a fair bit tougher, and managed to just nip through on the second one. Had a break last year, come back this year up against even more cars again, and managed to pull it off for the 3rd time running, so we're pretty happy. Okay, so it's a LQ9 iron block, like a truck block, 6 litre block. It's got a Kelly's Dragon Slayer crank, Kelly's rods, CP bullet pistons. It's got a Crow hydraulic roller camshaft. It's not a big secret. It's 238, 250 at 50 thou and only just over 600 thou lifts, so it's not a big cam. Just run Morel basic lifters. They're the cheapest tie bar ones I can. It's got standard rocker gear. Higgins has ported the cylinder heads, which made a big difference to flow, but they're still the factory LS3 heads. Other than that, standard plastic intake manifold, untouched. Standard log exhaust manifolds off a VE. I've just cut the ends off and adapted to them and made my own turbo kit. I built my own intercooler. Just bought a Bell intercooler core out of the States and fabricated my own tanks. And yeah, that's the engine. So when we took it off the road, it had a pair of 3582 turbos on it and a fairly standard style sort of an engine, like unported, untouched cylinder heads. We spent a lot of time going through the data and actually working out, where the efficiencies, we were out of its efficiency range in certain places, and calculated where we wanted to be and what we could do for the amount of money I was prepared to spend on it. So I ended up building a new turbo kit with a bigger pair of GTW 67mm billet turbos. We stepped the turbos up from sort of a 1300 horsepower worth of turbos up to 2000 horsepower worth of turbos. And we had Nathan Higgins port the cylinder heads, and Paul Rogers has built a new Turbo 400. So we did that mainly to change the gear ratios to soften off the hit. We found this engine has an awful lot of torque, and we can get the power in quite quickly, but it will, with the old suspension we had anyway, it would power mono out of the hole if we brought it in too quick. So by going to a turbo 400, we're able to launch in second gear. So we've gone from a 1.8 ratio gear that we launched into a 1.48. So it definitely softens it, and you can slam the power in a lot faster. And also with new front shocks, it's been good, hasn't lifted the front wheels once. So we're still 60 footing in the same time, so it just means that you're able to go faster overall. So at Calder Park in street trim, as you see it now, we ran at a street meet, we ran 122 in the 60, still only leading at 3,500 RPM in second gear. So looking forward to getting back to the track and turning it up more and more, and as long as the front stays down, we'll just keep putting more in it if the track will take it. The biggest drama was getting the car ready for drag challenge. I took a year and a half, we broke the car pretty significantly in April 2016. So we packed it up, didn't do anything with the car really until about, I think it was about 8 or 9 weeks before drag challenge. And then I'm going, guys, we've got to get this thing together. So I had to build the engine, build a new auto, build a new turbo kit. We've actually spaced the K-frame down to align the uni angles better, the driveline angles are better, so the engine's now lower and further forward in the car. That meant I had to build a whole new turbo kit, hence why I bought new turbos. So there was a lot of fabrication and going on just before drag challenge. We got to that track at Calder Park and we thought we were pretty sorted for drag challenge. We run the 775 and thought, yep, we're sorted. Till I got home and changed the oil and cut open the filter and it was full of metal. Yeah, mate and I, Clint Dalton, spent a lot of late nights making sure it was all right, put it together at the last minute, and we drove the car all at once before we got to drag challenge. So there was a lot of thrashing getting up to drag challenge, but the actual event, the car didn't miss a beat. So got start to finish. We did 2 oil changes on drag challenge just because it was a fresh motor, and other than that, didn't have to put a single spanner on the car. So it's been the actual event itself was the least amount of work we've ever had to do. So that made that a lot easier.